Well, ladies and gentlemen, Nicholas Cross here with you at WBW Warfare. And yes, it is time for the inaugural event of World Big Time Wrestling. And you can hear the capacity crowd here is amped up and ready to go. And so am I. A lot of action on the card this evening, a lot of things going to be planned, a lot of things going to be taking place, but first and foremost, before we ever get there, we got to take a look at this young man, Lou Crank. There you see with a Red Bull in his hand and going down the gullet as he's getting amped up and cranked up for some big-time action right here, right now, live in Toledo, Ohio. And, of course, if you guys are watching this, we want to thank you all over the United States. We want to thank you here in Toledo. And we want to thank you, YouTube Land, for all of your support and all of the good times that we plan on having and continuing with as World Big Time Wrestling takes the globe by storm. Hear a nice little Lou chant going off here in Toledo. Kind of exciting for me. The goosebumps and the goose flesh is rising all over me. I got to be honest with you, this is an exciting time for us as we go back to the ring. Now, this young man, not too many people know too much about, Jantae Keith. He's a young man from Detroit, Michigan. Grew up, from what I understand, with one heck of an amateur boxing background. And I'm curious if tonight we might see the flames of fire light up in this young man as he gets ready to box his way maybe to victory. Of course, he better do it with an open hand or else the referee may admonish him. Nice reception for Jantae Keith here in Toledo. Maybe his reputation precedes him. I don't know. All I know is that I am amped up and ready for the action right here, right now, as it's one-on-one. Jantae Keith versus none other than Lou Crank. You hear the audience getting behind Lou Crank. Maybe the audience is going to get behind Jantae Keith as well. There you see there's a little bit of an argument over who's going to wear the ball cap and what they're going to do with it. They're going to get it out of the ring, and Jantae's going to get ready. Lou looks ready. I got to be honest with you. The young man Lou Crank looks like he's in phenomenal shape, maybe the best shape of his entire career, with that awkward-looking furry boots. Maybe it's for intimidation factor. Maybe it's just because that's his style. The furry boots, the furry feather, who knows? All I know is this. It's an interesting view there from what we call the WBW fan cam. Getting a fan's perspective, firsthand, ringside, getting right in on the action. Unique perspective, to say the least. Of course, as we were talking about, it's not just about the feathers or the vest or the boots that comes with Lou Crank. It's also about the fact that he is. Well, there you hear them chanting Tay. It's Lou Tay, Lou Tay. Nice reception back to him. The crowd's going a little bit louder and louder and louder as they're giving their best to one Jantae Keith, and now it looks like we're going to get ready for some action. Lou Crank clearly the heavier and the stronger of the two. Jantae Keith looks to be a little bit more quick. Maybe has a little bit of agility as well as a reach advantage. And then Lou Crank he's grinding Jantae's face with his forearm over in the corner, and the referee was able to get in there and break that up. Jantae looks a little bit shooken up as you don't know how to prepare for one Lou Crank. That Red Bull does something interesting to him every time back into the collar and elbow. Lou Crank once again using that power advantage to push Jantae Keith back into the corner. And once again, it looks like he might be grinding on his face. No. And he just double chopped him right in the chest. And he says, Lou, I'm Lou Crank. Who are you? You can just tell me. Jantae Keith shoves the man back now. Back into the collar and elbow. Into a side headlock now, and he's wrenching it way, way down. Way down. Hey, don't forget while you're out and about cruising the social land to go to the Twitter and check us out on Twitter at WBigTimeW. It's always cool to hear from you, always cool to know what you got on your mind, always cool for you to tag your favorite wrestlers and talk about what we got going on here And don't forget the hashtag World Big Time Wrestling as Jantae Keith sends Luke Crank in. Luke Crank now once again with this interesting camera perspective showed some power, knocking the man down with a shoulder tackle. Luke Crank in, he floats over, back off the ropes now. He hops over, comes down into a deep arm drag. Jantae takes him over. Luke Crank back up, he goes back over into an arm drag, and now Jantae has him in an arm bar, driving the knee down into the back of the head of Luke Crank. And you can hear the audience here seemingly firmly behind one Jantae Keith as we're getting way in on the action there. See Luke Crank writhing in pain. And hey, while you're out and about looking at Twitter, don't forget to go over to Facebook and check us out there as well. You can see the link below. We're back in the armbar here. And Jantae patting the bald head of Luke Crank as he lifts him back to his feet. Luke Crank once again pressing with that strength advantage. Jantae back into the corner. The referee's calling for a clean break. Let's see what will happen. Luke goes for a big roundhouse, and Jantae back into another arm drag, back to the arm bar, and Luke Crank may be in some trouble here. There you see it patting his chest. There may have been some separation, maybe a torn muscle. I'm not sure. All I know is that this is World Big Time Wrestling, and it's action personified. So don't forget, hashtag World Big Time Wrestling across all social media platforms as Luke Crank gives him a big forearm and then a chop and then a boot to the midsection over in the corner. And what's he going to do here? He shoots him in, but Jantae with the presence of mind to reverse. Luke Crank hit hard. Jantae in, but Luke Crank got out of the way. Leapfrog. Luke Crank now up to the top rope. What's he going to do? He goes into a moonsault. Lands perfectly for the pin. One. Referee's out of position. Jantae got his shoulder up. Maybe it would have been all had the referee been in position. Luke Crank now with a flying back elbow, taking Jantae down. Looked like a leg lariat there of some sort. And Jantae Keith may be in some kind of trouble right here. Luke Crank now picking the young man up. Detroit, Michigan raises them hard. No, what's he going to do here? No. What's he going to do? Luke Crank just smashed the head of Jantae Keith into the corner while launching his body over the top rope. And what you may not realize there is that he was holding on, riding the head of Jantae down into the turnbuckle pad there. And underneath there is nothing but steel as Luke Crank back up to the top rope. And it looked like he went for a crescent kick. Maybe got the knee into the chest of Luke Crank, but he only got a 2 count there. Had he connected it, maybe now he's got a good hook of the leg, but he only gets a 2 again. Had he connected with that super kick or that side crescent kick, it may have been all over for Luke Crank. There might not have been enough Red Bull in the world to keep his shoulders off the canvas. And Luke Crank looks like he's out cold anyway. Jantae Keith now trying to get Luke Crank back to his feet. What's he going to do here? Big standing enziguri took Luke Crank all the way down to the canvas. All the way down. If he just pulls him over to the center of the ring, this thing may be elementary. He's got him in position. The referee's in good position too. No, Luke Crank got his shoulder up there. And we've known Luke Crank for quite some time. He has heart and he has desire as well as drive, and he has got a fire in him that you just can't put out. And there's that amateur boxing skills that we were talking about from Jantae earlier. There you see sharp, crisp, hook rights, left jabs, body shot after body shot. There he missed right there. But is he going to miss this? He just clotheslined Luke Crank all the way to the floor. And Luke Crank may be in some kind of trouble here. Jantae Keith has got to get out there, get him back in the ring, and pin the man because it may be over. Jantae now going off the ropes. What's he going to do here? He heads up to the top rope, and he does a suicide swanton straight down on top of the head of Luke Crank. And he may be out cold. All you got to do is throw the guy in the ring, Jantae. A little bit of experience showing through here. Throw the guy in the ring, and you've got yourself a crisp 3 count. Jantae now over. This interesting perspective here, this fan cam, may not be the best quality, but it certainly is unique as we get to see what the front row seats get to see. And there Luke Crank's back in the ring. Jantae Keith giving chase. And what's he going to do here? Looks like he's preparing himself for a springboard. He comes off. No, Luke Crank ducked underneath whatever it was going to be. Jantae ducks a clothesline. And right there, big neck breaker. This could be all she wrote for Crank. Jantae in the cover. 1. Well, it was a 2 count, and I missed the 1. But Luke Crank was able to get a shoulder up, surely enough. The action is personified, and the action is non-stop as I missed that 1 count to get to the 2 count. But nevertheless, Luke Crank was able to get a shoulder up. Once again, hashtag World Big Time Wrestling. Don't forget to check us out on the Twitter and on Facebook. Big leg drop by Jantae. And now you got to get more of your body on Crank. He's too heavy, he's too thick. He's got too much strength for that. As Luke Crank got a shoulder up after a what looked like a vicious leg drop. Maybe Jantae could have got more air. Maybe had he hooked the leg, he would have been able to get it over and get this match done with. There he just flips him right over, hops over him, and what's he going to do here? Big drop kick right to the side of the face, right in the temple of Lou Crank. 1, 2, then Crank right in the nick of time was able to get his shoulder up there. Jantae Keith now must be wondering what he has to do to put away Lou Crank, and once again he goes back to that reverse chin lock, driving that knee deep into the middle of the back of Lou Crank, pulling that head back really, really hard. The referee didn't call for the bell, but the bell certainly rang. And there we see Lou Crank trying to get pumped up, amped up, trying to get that red belt. You hear the audience here getting behind him. From fan cam, we can see the elbows. Lou Crank now off the ropes. He comes in. Jantae got him in the midsection with a boot. Lou Crank now returns the favor. He's got him up on a fireman's carry. What are we going to see here? The crowd going crazy. Jantae Keith now with Crank up in a fireman's carry. Elbows everywhere. Lou Crank now, he's got him hooked back in the fireman's carry. What are we going to see here? But Jantae's giving him elbows back. Big European uppercut may have cleaned the clock, and there he goes. Oh, my God. Into a diamond cutter type move. And Lou Crank is out of it. All Jantae has to do is float him over and get a pinfall, and this match is over with. Lou Crank is lying motionless. Jantae Keith now pushing him over. The referee's got to get in a better position. 1, 2, no, it's... Lou Crank got a shoulder up right at the last split second. And Jantae Keith looking perplexed and amazed. And I got to be honest with you, I think I would be too. Both men now getting to their feet. Clearly Jantae Keith in much better condition at this point in the match than Lou Crank. And he's going to shoot him into the ropes now. Crank held on, and Jantae took a hard fall. It looked like the back of his head bounced off the canvas. And the audience is screaming Lou yet again. And here Crank goes back up to the second rope. Is he going to go all the way up? Jantae Keith now making it to his feet. But no, he met Lou Crank halfway and punched him right in the jaw. And I would suggest the referee get in there and say something, but Crank got a nice body shot in. It looked like a right cross body shot right to the abdomen. But somehow Jantae Keith is back on the assault, and now he's got him in a sleeper hold. Lou Crank reverses. Jantae flips over. Back into the sleeper once again. Oh, this time Crank ducked out of the way and rammed Jantae's head once again right back into that turnbuckle pad. And one more time, I'm going to remind you, there is steel underneath that pad. Here goes Crank again, back up to the top rope, but Jantae meets him one more time. And Crank must be getting desperate at this point. Must be wondering what he has to do to put away the young man. Trading forearms back and forth. Jantae with a big uppercut right to the chin of Lou Crank. Crank is teetering precariously here. Looks like he may be in a bad position. What's Jantae going to do with him? Big forearm right to the chest. Both men heading up at the top rope here, and this looks as if it's going to be dangerous. Jantae may be going for a Hurricane Rana. Lou Crank is reversing it into a sunset flip. 1, 2, and Jantae got a shoulder up. What an amazing spectacle we're seeing right here at World Big Time Wrestling as Jantae gave Crank a big forearm and then a big clothesline. This is anybody's match at this point, I would venture to say. Jantae now with a reverse atomic drop. Lou Crank in some serious trouble, and another standing enziguri. Cover the man, pin him, get over on him, and get his shoulders. Wait a minute, Jantae signaling to the crowd here. Maybe some of that experience showing, I'm not sure. You got to stay on a guy like Crank, and you got to continue the assault. You can't let him get up. Jantae now going for something there, but Lou, wait a minute, Crank's got him. Slungshot him right into the ring post. Jantae's head hit the ring post. I can't tell if he's lacerated or not. All I know is that his head hit that octagonal ring post, and now Crank up on the top rope. Are we going to see that vicious missile drop kick right there? Button on perfect right to the chest, and we can count to 57 as Lou Crank got him a match right here tonight in the first ever World Big Time Wrestling event. And you're going to hear Toledo going crazy for one Lou Crank. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to be honest with yourselves about this thing. It wasn't handed to Lou on a silver platter. Jantae Keith fought, and he fought hard. As a matter of fact, at one point I thought that Jantae had put away Crank. But here we hear the audience chanting Lou, and there we see Lou Crank celebrating his victory. And then a good show of sportsmanship, tapping one Jantae Keith right on the shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nicholas Cross, and this is World Big Time Wrestling. And we are so glad that you joined us here in Toledo, Ohio, or here on the Twitter, or here on Facebook, or here on our home channel, YouTube. And there he is, the winner, Lou Crank.